Welcome to Fort Worth 148's podcast, where we meet to discuss Masonic topics and strive to build value in the Brotherhood. The opinions and statements of the participants do not represent any positions or stance of any Grand Lodge or Lodge and are solely the viewpoints of the participants. Welcome back to the podcast, brothers. This is Rick Moore, past master of Fort Worth 148.
This is Billy Hamilton, senior warden for Fort Worth 148.
This is Gabe Yagish, junior warden of Fort Worth 148.
This is Eddie Kirkendall, master of ceremonies at Fort Worth 148.
Well,
And we have no guests this week.
yeah, no guest.
That's okay.
And
though.
we are all well over 6 feet apart.
Yes.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Needless to say, we are not experimenting with in-person recording this episode.
No, we're safely quarantined in our homes.
Yeah.
In a
Safely
bubble.
quarantined.
No.
Yeah. The situation is thus. There's a guy, his Twitter handle is abstract comment, and he summarized the situation well. Summer vacation, except it's cold outside. All your friends are away, and you're grounded for something you didn't cause.
Yeah. My brother did it, and I'm grounded.
I didn't do it, Mom.
No, it's no doubt. Well, and I think, we decided to do an episode about quarantine life, because it's completely interrupted everything, not just Lodge, but everything in life. So, we decided to touch on that subject. So I put together a list of questions, and the first one that I wanted to ask is, how are you guys faring? How are you doing in the quarantine life?
It goes well with my soul.
No. I was a Gen X, latchkey kid, so this is fine.
Yeah. A little bit cabin fevery, but fortunately working from home remotely keeps me busy during the day. So yeah, that helps a lot. So but we're healthy.
It's amazing how much unemployment has allowed me to do projects around the house.
Oh, and that's the truth. No joke. I mean,
Suddenly
baseboards
my
have been
to-do
clean.
list around the house is decreasing rapidly.
Mhm.
Knocking project.
Self-imposed chore list.
Yeah,
Right.
getting all the projects knocked out. Do y'all know anybody that's been affected by the virus personally?
I do.
Not that I'm
actually.
asking you to mention names or anything, but you see that a lot where not so much anymore where people are like, has anybody even heard of somebody getting sick or know anybody?
So I'm actually going to mention him by name because he was in the news. But my priest was the first confirmed case in Tarrant County. His name is Robert Pace, appropriately styled Reverend Dr. Robert Pace. Father Robert is really new to our church. He came from Amarillo, and he started during late Advent, right? Just before Christmas. And, we're getting into February and March, and all of a sudden, the guy catches coronavirus. Father Robert's sick. And he thought it was a bug. He thought it was a cold. Then he thought, he didn't feel right. And then he got better, right? And he went to a church function on a Wednesday night. We were doing up until all this went down, we were doing Lenten movie nights on Wednesdays. And he shows up to the movie night and he's like, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit beat up, but I'm feeling better. And then the next day, immediately regressed. It wasn't his fault. He was feeling better. From all the symptoms he was exhibiting were like more consistent with like a cold apparently at the time. And then it wasn't until like the second go round when it was like, oh no, like you have COVID-19. Oh crap, and he got it in most likely he got it in Kentucky at an Episcopal conference. And 45 members of my church ended up having to self-quarantine because they were with him at the event. Nobody got it from him, right?
That's good.
Father Robert is the only one that got it, thank God, and he's okay, right? But the poor man, he and his wife, Dr. Jill, so he and his wife are both priests, so Reverend Dr. Robert Pace, Reverend Dr. Jill Waters. He and Mother Jill were in self-isolation in their house. And because she didn't have it, he was self-isolating in one of the bedrooms. So she was leaving food for him at the door of the bedroom and stuff so that he and she could isolate separately, just so in case that they didn't want her to catch it at all either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't imagine how difficult that would be to have to self-isolate from your own spouse and communicate through the door and through text message as they were. But fortunately, Father Robert is completely recovered. He is back to work. I was able to attend a digital mass, more appropriately, morning prayer, because we didn't have communion. I went to church on Sunday digitally, and he was able to lead it for the first time in a while. And Mother Jill doesn't seem to be experiencing any symptoms, so we're all very grateful for that. God is working through our doctors and nurses and taking care of people, so we're very grateful that Father Robert and Mother Jill are okay.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Craziness.
So there's a meme going around on Facebook, which I've noticed hasn't been shared much at all. But during the first days of lockdown beginning and everything like that, you would see this stupid post. Well, does anyone really even know anyone who has coronavirus? Like, I mean, really know someone? Everyone's just heard of someone. It's like, And so I immediately began, I would just post the news article and I would say, that is my priest. And people shut up real quick after that. It was a little bit satisfying.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we had someone get sick at the TMRC, that pretty much shut up everybody that was a brother that might have said something like that. It got real quick. That's for sure. Because, you had and I get it. How can you believe hardly anything that's coming out of the media nowadays? But that got real quick. That was one of my favorite memes, was the Ron Burgundy one. That was like, well, that escalated fairly quickly.
Yeah. Right. Well, and there was a brother in Burleson Lodge too, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And just to be clear, the two brothers that we're talking about did pass away, right? Yeah. This did kill them, unfortunately, and it was a big shock, right? And especially because some of the news articles were being updated as we read them. Like I remember reading the first article. And it was like, the first death of COVID-19 in North Texas was in a retirement home. Like, oh my gosh, that's really terrible. And then an hour later, when I sent the link to my mom and I reread the article, I noticed that they had updated the information, and it says the first death was in the Texas Masonic Retirement Center. And I went, oh God, do I know this guy? And I did not know him, but Rit, you did, right?
Oh yeah, I knew him pretty well. He was a past master of a lodge I was secretary of for a while, and got to know him very well. He was the guy, that was steward for years and years. He was just there to serve. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he was older, but he wasn't like frail old. He was still getting around. The other guy that was from Burleson Lodge just retired. That's like, that one got me hard because I knew him well too. I studied with him all the time at a study group, and he had just retired, and we'd go up there and study, and he'd come and talk about all the new stuff he'd got for the Winnebago or the Harley or what trip they're about to go on, and it was just like, that one was tough. He got it on the cruise and got quarantined and went downhill quick and just never recovered. And his poor wife was in isolation too. So that's what got me the most, is just thinking, man, you die alone. It's one thing to die with your family surrounding you, but you're in there on your own. That's surreal, big time.
Yeah. And there's I've heard it said before, everyone dies alone because, you can't take anyone with you, that kind of thing. Like, not in, regardless of whatever circumstance, that's a journey you have to take alone, in the metaphysical sense, right?
Yeah.
But the very real and scary thing about COVID-19 is that it is turning dying alone from a spiritual sort of concept to a very real physical concept that affects your family, which is very scary.
Yeah. I mean, because you're right. Being dead is a personal journey, but dying, that's normally done with family if it can be arranged in such a way. If you've lived a long, happy life or got sick or whatever. This is weird. Not being in isolation.
And the other side of that coin is the stress that it's creating on people in the healthcare world. I know Gabe's wife is in the healthcare world, and I have a brother at McKinney Lodge who is in the healthcare world as well as his wife, and the stories that they've been sharing with the lodge is of navigating the healthcare system in this environment is just, it's eye-opening and frankly scary. The disease is scary enough, but then these stories that they're sharing about, like, what's going on in the hospitals and how the hospitals are coping, and some aren't coping very well, and so it's bringing a new dimension to I think the stress that everybody is feeling right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, even if you do prep for something like this, it's still, you know what I mean? It's like game on. It's going to be stressful. There's no way around it. Even if you are ginning on all cylinders, it's going to be stressful. For you guys personally, how have you been affected? I mean, I heard you say earlier, Gabe, that you're working from home, so you still got a job.
I am very thankful for that. Yes, I am still employed. So
I know, Evie, you were like, governor laid you off, right?
Yes. Today, as a matter of fact, at 2 p.m., the governor put my career into the category of mandatory, can't do my job. And that's until at least April 30th. And so we've already been closed since, today is 14 days. So about 14 or 15 days, we've already been closed. And so it's going to be at least another 30 days before we reopen. And then there's also, the city has closed our industry until I think the 15th of May is when Betsy Price, the mayor of Fort Worth, has determined that our industry has to remain closed. So we are in a kind of a holding pattern, and it's obviously dealing with all the financial stresses that go along with that. And so everybody can kind of imagine, and everybody's in the same boat. I don't think that there are very many people that aren't being financially affected by this. And so I'm pretty fortunate, I think, that that I'm going to have a job as soon as the things come back. But it's going to be a long kind of 30 days not getting a paycheck. So we'll see how it works.
No, there's no doubt. And I'm a realtor, and my industry has adapted very well with, like, we're doing FaceTime showings. So if a client wants to see a house, I'll go to it and they stay at home. A lot of stuff's done electronically, but still it's slowed things down considerably.
Mhm.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
I'm a business analyst, so I was able to work from home before, and now I'm just doing it permanently.
Yeah.
And working for a telecommunications company and internet service provider. If anything, work for us has increased.
Yeah, that's the truth. We need the internet right now.
Yeah.
We're
And this, to me, this proves that more than ever, the internet is not a luxury. It is a utility that needs to be classified in the same way as gas and water. You
yeah,
know.
electricity.
It
You're
is
right.
now a necessity.
Yeah,
No,
that's the reality of 2020. You know, it's been reality for much longer than that, but this is proof positive. Hey, this is, you need it. You really do.
yeah,
The other interesting thing that I think is kind of happening, and maybe you're going to talk about this a little bit later, Rit,
yeah,
but I think that this has exposed kind of comedically how many things we've been doing in meetings and going to like conference calls that could be handled via email now and
yeah,
Oh,
being handled like and not having to go into work. I mean, if for instance in Billy and Gabe's job, what if you can do all of your work without interruption from home, then why are we going to offices for 40 hours a week? I mean, it's
yeah.
yeah.
really begging the question, as a culture, what is the point of some of these practices that we're doing?
Yeah,
And
we
is
Well,
it
and I
really
think that,
necessary moving forward?
and
could
I
save
hope that
billions.
what we see is, I hope that what we see from this is that companies learn, hey, you don't have to show up, from an office. And I was talking to one brother who said, hey, my company was actually kind of thinking about completely decentralizing before this. You know, we have a big office. It costs us a gazillion dollars a year to rent. Everyone's in there all the time. And a lot of us work from home anyway already, and now we're all working from home. People who don't are people whose offices are entirely dependent on people whose jobs are entirely dependent on having an office have been furloughed, right? So like receptionists and stuff, and that's what happened at my company. Our number of our employees were furloughed or laid off, um, but which is unfortunate. But one of the things that we're seeing is like, hey, like there may not be a real need to have a physical office at all.
Though,
Like that's just the reality of it. And
Yeah.
people will be just as productive if they're able to work at home.
as a realtor, that's the kind of effects that are going to be scary after all this is over. If you have 20% of businesses in America say I no longer need an office and they cut their lease, that's going to have massive effects. And I mean, how can things not change after all we've gone through? But it's going to be interesting to see what they are.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that to
Yeah.
me as a business owner, that's a no-brainer. If you can stay home and I don't have to pay rent here, that's a huge overhead cost that I could do away with. I don't need an office for 40 people, just 3. We're out of here.
Mhm.
Well, and
Well,
also
Yeah.
like
If you,
when you think about like architects and places like that, they spend lots of money having downtown high-rise businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so much of their work now has been relegated to home, being done at home.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not just a matter of the office completely going away, but scaled back considerably, because really all you need is a conference room and a room to greet clients. You don't need offices for everybody to be in the office together anymore.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
I can also see how that is going to change the footprint of office space in our country in the same way that you know um, cubicles changed the way that office spaces were laid out, in the 70s and 80s.
And we
well,
may
So it'll
and
find
be
that
it'll be
we,
the,
interesting.
re-
yeah,
the reality of it is a lot of companies coming out of this are going to realize how much money they save, and they no longer have to worry about facilities. They no longer have to worry about staff because you have to hire security, you have to hire maintenance, you have to pay for electricity and water, whether someone's in there or not. Uh, there's a lot of companies that are going to realize they can save millions upon millions of dollars just by having a significant portion of their employees telecommute.
Mhm.
And then
And
I started thinking about companies like Apple or, you know, Pottery Barn, or, you know, just the places that we think of when we go into a shopping center that have
Mm.
huge kind of footprint stores. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Not the big box stores like Sam's or Costco or Best Buy, but I'm talking about those moderately sized places that are kind of closed now, but still have a significant online presence. I wonder what the shift is going to be toward away from brick and mortar, and how much more of the you know, that sector of our economy is going to go strictly digital or primarily digital.
Well,
so
even brick and
I,
mortar could be modified too, because when I went up to Amazon to interview with them, they have a facility that it is a cashless store. You go in, and it automatically logs into your Amazon Prime account on your phone. You pick up what you need, you walk out with it, and it charges you.
yeah, and I think one of the things that we're going to see is I don't know if I'm being accurate here, but I would almost call it like the Apple model, where the you go into an Apple store, there's not that many, there's Apple stores all over the place, and there's a lot of them, but there's not that many of them compared to a lot of other stores, right? But the difference is that you walk in and it's a very nice store, right? Really nice. And people know, hey, in order to get to the Apple store, you have to drive to so and so mall or so and so complex. That's where the Apple store is. It's not going to be anywhere else. In a metroplex like ours, you might have one or two, maybe three, but you're not going to have them all over the place. Um, but the difference is that the Apple Store becomes kind of like an experience, right? And I think that's what we're going to see with a lot of brick and mortar stores. People are still going to want to shop in person. That's kind of non-negotiable, right? Like there's a very human component to picking something up and feeling how it weighs in your hands, and messing with the little bits on it and stuff. Um, but we're going to see fewer stores, and they're going to be nicer. One of the things about the United States is that compared to a lot of other countries, we are overserved in stores, right? It's just one of the things about the US, for better or for worse, we are drowning in retail. So we're going to see, I think, a consolidation of brick and mortar.
And I think that also brings up the you know, the evolution of how our consumer based culture is predicated on consumerism. You know, the reason we're drowning in retail, as you put it, is because that's one of the many, or one of the things that fuels our economy in large part. It's not,
Mhm.
you know, it's just it's part and parcel of being, you know, the American, that our gross domestic product is about retail. And
Mhm.
during this, you know, this pandemic, I imagine that while certain sectors have certainly benefited retail wise, there's, I think, a rewiring of the American brain going on right now that is very anti-consumerist, because people are facing financial hardship, but more so than just a downturn of the economy, they're stuck inside. Many retailers are not open. If they are open, they're not shipping overnight, so you're not getting that instant gratification purchase like you can with, because Amazon right now, if you, most of the products that they sell now are like May 15th, delivery
Yeah.
dates anywhere from April 15th to May 15th.
Yeah.
So if you, and that's with a Prime account. So, you know, if you want something, if you want to engage in purchasing and retail therapy, you can't, because there's just nowhere that you can get the stuff, because nowhere's open and nobody's shipping stuff for the most part. So
Yeah.
my great grandparents were Depression era people. And she is very influenced by the mindset that her parents had. But, the baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Zoomers, whatever's going on now, pick a generation.
Yeah.
This is like 3 generations that we've really skipped, that we haven't had something like this ever happen.
No.
And so this is new. This is uncharted territory for the vast majority of the world.
Yeah. I mean, we've lived in the land of plenty for so long, of milk and honey, because I think about my great grandmother who wouldn't throw away a butter dish or a glass jar. Heaven to Betsy, she wouldn't throw stuff away that could be reused. And that was the Depression era mentality coming out in her. And nowadays it's, everything's
So
disposable.
my Aunt Carm, she taught us a lot about that era of time, because she lived through the Great Depression. And one of the things that I'll always remember about Aunt Carm was that Aunt Carm would save butter wrappers, the wax paper that butter comes in, and she'd save them in the fridge because she would use those to grease pans when she was cooking.
Yeah.
And it's something that she picked up in the 1920s, I guess, and never let go of.
Yeah.
Well, my grandmother to this day will not throw away one of those like country crock containers, the plastic bins. My grandmother does not have Tupperware or like real regular storage, because she has an entire closet full of country crock buckets.
Yeah, it's like you see the butter cookie box, and it's this beautiful tin can type thing with a nice snap-on, snap-off lid, and you open it, you're like, oh crap, cookies, and you open it up, and you're like, ah, crap, it's just my mom sewing stuff.
Well,
the only thing that looks like food is the little tomato that you put pins in.
right.
Exactly.
I find myself kind of almost doing something kind of similar, because I have some, spaghetti sauce that comes in glass jars. I just bought at the store. And suddenly I was like, after I cooked it a week ago, I was like, I could reuse this for something. And I washed it and I put it up in my cupboard. And right now in my cupboard, there is a glass jar that used to have tomato sauce in it, but now it's a jar in my cupboard. And I find myself making those kind of conscious decisions now, and if it's rewiring my brain in just a short period of time to think, I need to think long term and be reusing things. So if it's already happening, I mean, imagine the consequences this is going to have as it ripples forward in time.
Exactly.
And more things become, I won't say scarce, because I don't think that there's a problem with most things right now, food supply or anything like that. But as we just become less able to go out and shop for this foreseeable future, I mean, we're going to, need stuff like that.
No. And I hope we do become more self-aware out of all this. I mean, because it is about recognition of other people and, benevolence and all those huggy, nicety, candy cane and cupcake kind of feelings. That's what life's all about. And we get wrapped up in that consumerism. What's the next pay-per-view coming on, good movie, all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the end. It's the good stuff.
If there's anything that we learn out of this, it should be empathy, right? Better, greater, deeper empathy. If someone comes out of this experience without learning better empathy, then they were not awake.
Yeah, you need to be quarantined some more.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Back to solitary. So let's.
Also,
that's also really interesting too.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Gabe.
I was gonna say I did want to share this with the listeners because I thought it was funny. Rit texted me, "Holy cow, that dog is super barky, Gabe. Is that your neighbors?"
Yeah, I've been listening to the dog next door.
It was not my neighbor's dog. It was not my dog. My wife was watching 101 Dalmatians in the living room.
Oh my gosh. That's
I walked in and
greatness.
I was like, "What's wrong with the dogs?" And she like goes, "Huh?" And she pointed at the TV.
That's quarantine life, baby.
I was gonna say
Right.
quarantine is going well.
You'll hear my kids here in a minute, I'm sure. That's greatness. So I do want to chat.
One of-
Go ahead, Evie. Don't let me rush
Well, I
you.
was just going to say quickly to add on what we were just talking about is that one of the things that I've definitely noticed in my time in quarantine in the last 2.5 weeks, that I realized how much of my life was being consumed by work and by things that didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And now, without being as consumed by work, I suddenly realized how unimportant work really is. I mean, it's important in the sense that it provides a living and that it, provides you satisfaction in your life, of a job well done. All those things, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I mean is that, I don't feel I feel like so much of it has been a distraction that I was using work as an excuse. And now I find that I'm engaging in, more meaningful conversations with my friends and family.
Yeah.
I feel that I'm not neglecting or taking those people for granted anymore. And I realize that work it's not good. I can't imagine that I'm going to be putting as much focus on work moving forward as I did in days gone by.
Yeah.
Because it's lost its importance outside of just producing income for me.
No, I totally feel you. How, because generations before us, what you did for a living almost kind of defined who you were as a person. We got into that. It's one of the first questions a man would ask you. What do you do for a living back in the day? That's kind of fallen off the map, because I'm in the same thing. How little relevance that work actually has. I've caught myself many times thinking, I'm not going to go show a house when there's a basketball game anymore. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You come to those realizations of what's actually important.
Yeah, I'm not going to be staying at work late anymore, and I'm not going to be working my knuckles to the bone trying to carve out a space at work for myself, because I'm suddenly realizing that space, while I love my job and I enjoy what I do immensely and I get great satisfaction from it, it's no longer going to be defining me moving forward. And I can't imagine that I'm going to let it rule my life quite as much as I've allowed it to in the past.
No.
Something that I have kind of maybe gotten a little bit out of the habit of, but I still mostly abide by and have for a long time, was when I was working, and I started this back when I was working in the oil and gas industry. And I still do it now that I'm in the architectural industry. And people ask me, so what do you do for work, right? And instead of saying, I'm a reservoir engineer or I'm a plumbing designer, right, as it were at the time, one of the things that I have always tried to make a conscious effort to say is I work as a plumbing designer. I work as a reservoir engineer for this company, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not a designer for so-and-so company, right? That's not who I am. But I do work as a designer for this company. And that. It's not like it's a grand statement or anything like that. It's just reminding myself that I am not my job, because, and maybe it's because I'm, to venture into stereotypes, perhaps it's because I'm a millennial and I'm more disaffected or whatever, but I don't. Buying into my employment as my identity is like the last thing I want to do.
Yeah. No, that's actually a very profound statement. That made me think of Brad Kohinke's oration at Grand Lodge, where he talked about people who go up and, when they're ordering something at a restaurant, I want or I need, as opposed to I would like to have. That's a huge difference in between the two. You know, there's a lot of intention in between the two, and that's the same thing. I like that. You know, I work as. I'm going to add that into my lexicon because I'm not a realtor.
Yeah, I work as. It's a
Yeah.
very powerful statement.
Yeah, I like it. So let's chat a little more on the less serious side. What have you guys been doing to fill the time? And look, don't try to be all Socrates and tell me you've been reading something profound. I know you've probably read something decent, but I know this has been free time. What have you been doing to fill the time aside from work, of course?
Well, for me personally, I am, in addition to my regular vocation, I'm also a full-time student, and it has allowed me to catch up on studies and get ahead and do things that, just invest a little bit more time without feeling rushed to get assignments done. So a lot of my time has been just doing that and reading. And surprisingly, a lot of people I think, are expecting to do a lot of binge watching of TV, and I have not really watched a lot of television or Netflix or movies or anything. It's been
Hold up.
mostly like productive things.
Have you
How
not
would
watched
you-
The Tiger
how would
King
you
yet?
like- I was going to say, how would you like to learn about gay rednecks, methamphetamine, and tigers?
Dude, yeah, you
You know,
have not been
I don't know.
quarantined until you watch Tiger King.
Well, the funny thing is, like, that seems like a little bit of a documentary of like living out in rural West Texas to me. 'Cause there's
Southern Oklahoma. I
that's
mean,
that's
same
kind of what
thing.
West Texas is.
I
So
was going to say, you're right on the meth, maybe wrong on gay tiger keepers.
I don't know. Don't count
Oh.
your chickens is all I'll say to that.
Well, that's good. Look at you, Abby. You've been a good boy. You've been a good boy. Gabe, what about you? What have you been
he's-
No,
doing?
that's not to say that that's not to say it's all been reading and homework. I've definitely had my fair share of adult beverages at 11 a.m. So
Yeah. I feel
I
you
gotta
on
say,
that one.
quarantine for us as an entire country, quarantine is going to do wonders for our alcohol tolerance. Did y'all know that since the beginning of the nationwide announcements, Texas has led the entire country in volume of alcohol consumed per capita?
Sounds about right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
well, duh.
Texas, baby. Quarantine has been very good. But no, productive, getting work done. One of the things that has actually been happening is that, so I'm working in my home office, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if the office is filled with stuff and, it's hard to get to the desk or it's just visually distracting, that's going to be a problem. So my wife and I have teamed up and we have cleaned up the home office. So her crafting stuff is all where it needs to be. My personal stuff is all where it needs to be. You can actually see the floor, which is amazing. And we've stored stuff in boxes and stacks and shelves, and I mean, it's looking like actual human beings live here, as opposed to some sort of trash goblins. And
Transient
I'm very
people.
proud of myself. So Sarah and I have been hard at work in that, and we're doing a lot of work in the garage, and happy about that. And then and yes, we've been watching Tiger King, and the X-Files, lots of X-Files.
The truth is out there.
Well, it's out there somewhere. If it's not in me, then it's out there. And I've also, on a more personal note, been reading a lot more, and I've been meditating a lot more. Or I've been meditating, and it's been something that I've been doing, but now it's actually easier to meditate because my schedule is more flexible, and I say, hey, like, I'm not going to be late to work if I meditate early in the morning and I take 10 minutes longer than I normally do, or whatever. Or if I need to take a break, and I say, hey, it's 3 p.m. I need a breather. Hey, I'm going to go meditate for 20 minutes. And that has been something really amazing. And it has helped me be more consistent with meditation and prayer. just kind of connecting a little bit more to the universe, which has been really nice. And I've been seeing my family more, but digitally. So we've taken up doing Friday night dinners via webcam. So we'll just each one of us plonks a webcam or not Zoom. My family uses Facebook Messenger. They have the Facebook portal devices.
Yeah.
So we plonk a webcam down and they plonk their portals down and we point it at the dinner table and we eat dinner together as a family, just separated by a few miles. And that's been really nice.
Billy, how about you, sir? What you been doing?
So I've been reading a little bit more,
Mhm.
you know, especially about finding out more about Kabbalah and how
Such
some
good
of the concepts
Masons.
behind that. I've binge watched Hunters on Amazon Prime. I'm trying to catch up on Westworld. I've been doing a lot of HTML coding for some of the state bodies that I maintain the website for. And I have been playing a lot of Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
That's what I'm
A
talking
lot,
about.
like daily.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I heard the PSN network got throttled because of overusage, and I could definitely tell.
See? That's why I play on Xbox.
Yeah. No, when this all went down, I had this big stack of books that it was like, yes, finally. I haven't touched one of them, and I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah, I thought about the same thing about writing. I thought I would get a lot of writing done. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
done any writing other than code writing.
Yeah. I mean, I've done chores around the property just to get out of the house. But I'm most proud of the things I've done in GTA. That's where I've been most productive. So just real quick, I wanted to touch on this before we get into Lodge. What's been the biggest struggle?
Well, I think for me, and this kind of goes into like some of the things that go on in my life personally, because I don't know how many I don't know many of the listeners that know it, but I think some of you know that I deal with PTSD from my time in the military. And so one of the things that I've become very conscious of is that how easy it is for me to stay at home and to avoid being out in the public and to avoid personal interactions and be completely okay with that. And also an awareness that that's probably not a behavior that I want to enable very, very long after this whole pandemic thing is over. So I have to, even though I'm enjoying my time alone and being secluded and away from people,
Yeah.
I realize that it's probably also not helping my my overall mental health is not supported by being very isolated. So I have to
Yeah.
that's something that's been I've been very cognizant of in the back of my head, that even though I'm enjoying it, it's probably not healthy. So
yeah, no, you got to trick yourself. I mean, we are social creatures, as much as I like to think that I'm doing great with this. In the end, we got to socialize at some point.
Right. And when last night we had a little, and I know this goes into a little bit of the lodge stuff, but Billy, Gabe, myself, and a couple of other guys from the lodge got together and on Uber conference and had a little like powwow and just laughed and told some jokes and made fun of things. And I mean, it was just a bunch of silliness, but it was actually profoundly profoundly good to reconnect with people that because we haven't been up in lodge now for what, about a month. Yeah, it was our last dated, I think, was the last actual time we got together officially, or even unofficially. And so being able to get back together with and hear the voices and the lodge again, it made me realize how much I miss it. So
in terms of what we've been struggling with over here is definitely some pretty intense anxiety regarding our risk factor, right?
Yeah.
Both Sarah and I are very healthy,
Yeah.
or at least, I mean, I could be skinnier, but we're healthier.
Couldn't
We're
we
healthy.
all?
Yeah.
But both of us are relatively fit and we're young, so that gives us a big advantage. However, one of the things that is concerning is that we've noticed that young people are not immune because 20% of admits are, under the age of 40 or something like that. It's young people get hit by this bad as well.
Yeah.
And Sarah's a nurse, which means that she's pretty much on the front lines.
Yeah.
And she works in orthopedics, so for now she's not going to have to deal with COVID patients. They're not doing any elective surgeries anymore, so she's not seeing elective patients anymore. No knee replacements, no hip replacements, but she's still seeing broken bones and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there is a possibility, strong possibility, that they are going to turn parts of her ward into a COVID overflow.
Yeah.
And that's when she's going to start coming into contact with COVID patients. And she has said as much as that it's not a matter of if it becomes a COVID overflow ward as when it becomes a COVID overflow ward. And if Sarah gets COVID, then I get COVID, right? That's just that's going to happen. Even if I social distance in my room, I'm going to end up touching a doorknob and then touching my face or something. You may want to censor that. Yeah, so a little bit of anxiety there, but for now we're okay. We're really worried about her parents, right? My parents are in the risk age, but they are not interacting with people that have COVID.
Yeah.
However, her parents are both doctors, and they're both seeing patients who are possible victims of the disease, right? And so that's a real concern, right?
Yeah.
Because both of her parents are in their 60s, and so they are in the risk factor age, and they're both seeing patients daily because they're doctors and that's their job.
Yeah.
They've taken an oath to take care of people, and that's the reality of it. So there's a little bit of worry there for sure.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I try not to dwell on that too much, for sure.
No. Yeah. You can't. I mean, it's certainly something that's going to come into your mind. I know me and my wife, we giggled the other day about every time we sniffle or cough, it's like, oh, geez, was that the COVID cough?
You got the Rona.
Dude, and I'm playing online on GTA, and all these people are coughing, and I'm like, man, that sounds like a dry cough. I don't know if I want to be playing.
Suddenly everybody is a healthcare expert on Facebook.
You got it. Yeah. How can you not be a little bit anxious over all this? You know what I mean? That's normal. There's no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. And it's good to be aware.
Yeah.
Right. It's not good to panic.
No, don't let it debilitate you.
It is good to use fear and anxiety as a system of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're just trying to be aware, do good practices, try not to touch our faces, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and don't go buy 2 months of toilet paper. What kind of nonsense is that? Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, come on, people. Bidets are $35 on Amazon. Not even that. Now is time to buy a bidet. It's good for you.
It is time for America
bidet,
to embrace the bidet.
Use a garden hose?
I mean, if you want to do that in your front yard, be my guest.
No, it's springtime now. There's plenty of leaves. Some of you act like
get that. Oh crap! I lost my joke. Never mind. Pay no attention to the guy who's trying to make bad jokes.
Poison ivy.
Yeah.
That's where it was going, but it went off the rails.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Rick, you would have to worry about that. You've got a lot of poison ivy out in your house, don't you?
Yeah, I'm not allergic to it, but my wife is. She knows it well too. Actually, that's what I've been doing is weed eating. That's been my biggest struggle is my weed eater broke. And I've been wanting to go to the store to get a new one because there's so much I've got to weed eat. And I can't bring myself to go. I nearly did the other day. I was like, that's so irresponsible. I'm going to go buy a weed eater in the middle of a pandemic. My wife was like, just order it.
It's an essential.
I had I had to get a lawnmower from Home Depot. And, you're walking in and when people are creeping up behind you, you're like, whoa, personal space, buddy.
6 feet. Yeah, I got that at the grocery store the other day. It was like they had the tape marked off and somebody just walked right up behind me. I'm like, hey, you see that tape? That's 6 feet.
Yeah. So we ended up going to Home Depot because one of the light bulbs, there's like 4 light bulbs in this light fixture, right? And the last light bulb in it finally died. We went to Home Depot and bought us some light bulbs, and they're doing a good job of controlling it there. What they've done is everyone is, they have markers every 6 feet outside, and you wait in line 6 feet apart from each other. And then when a person leaves the store, a person gets to go in the store. And I can't remember what the exact limit is. I think it varies from city to city. But they won't let you in until somebody else has left the store. Then they're keeping it real small in there. It looked like a ghost town. So
glad I didn't go then.
I felt less guilty about doing that, but I was still definitely kind of going with the sensation of I shouldn't be out here.
So let's move on into lodge stuff because we kind of touched on and mentioning that we haven't met since last stated meeting. Was that really the last time we met? I hadn't been keeping track. I've been enjoying myself so much. Is February 10th the last time we met at the temple?
February 9th, but yes.
Yeah.
February 9th was a Sunday.
Was it? Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah, February 10th. Yeah.
March 9th is what I'm thinking of.
So that's 1, 2.
Oh, that's when the catering bill was due. Okay. Awesome. Just junior warden things. Don't worry about it.
Man, that's a long time not being at lodge. So, I mean, that's before everything popped off. So that was my first question that I had about lodge is how did we react at 148? And I was just following orders. I didn't have any part of it, but as soon as this even became like almost an issue, we said, no, not going to meet, right? Because February 10th, even February 16th, that's before all the quarantine stuff hit.
We weren't the first ones to take actions, but we weren't the last. And I think we did pretty good in terms of response time.
Yeah.
As a lodge, we decided, we saw that a couple other grand jurisdictions were starting to shut things down. And of course, initially, my own response was, it was a Grand Lodge in Massachusetts, for example. I think they were the first grand jurisdiction in this, the GLONA, first one. I think they were one of or the first to shut down in the United States. I sat there and I thought, oh, that's crazy talk. They're overreacting. This is. And then bam, 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 bam. All these grand jurisdictions start shutting down. And I go, maybe this is a serious thing. And our worshipful master, Grant Gates, said, hey, you know what? Best idea. Shut it down.
So I can tell you actually when that decision was made because we had a Master Mason's degree that was scheduled for the 17th.
That's
and we
right.
Made the
I remember that.
On February 15th that we were going to cancel that and we were going to take a break and see how things went. And we just that break has been extended.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
That's right.
So
it was just before that master's degree.
As a lodge too, we can, per the law, we can skip 2 stated meetings, no problems at all. Where we start getting into issues is if we have to miss, because we miss March, we can miss April, but May stated meeting, we've got to go back, or there's got to be some kind of dispensation issued by Grand Lodge. So
And there was mention of that in one of the Grandmasters.
Yeah,
notices.
fortunately, Most Worshipful Underwood has issued like kind of I guess the best way to describe it is a blanket dispensation. It says, hey, you don't have to meet the quarterly requirement anymore, and we're thankful for that.
did he already issue an edict on that?
Yeah,
he
I
was
guess,
suspending all
yeah.
meetings indefinitely.
That's right. That's right. And there have been so many that
Well, and
came
then there
out.
was and then after that, there was the Grandmaster's decision that gave him the authority to suspend meetings until further notice,
Yeah.
which I
I
thought
mean-
was, I mean, I realized why it had to be done, but it was just kind of comedic that it's one of those things where, you know, the person in power gets to say he has that power, and it's, I don't know, it was just kind of, for me, it was comedic.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because it's like it's like the king of a country saying, well, of course the king can do this, but
Right?
Yeah.
you know,
It's
it's one
legal
of those
because
things
the king
where
did it.
but it's one of those things where you look at it and it's like, well, obviously Most Worshipful Underwood ran it through the jurisprudence committee first, right? Like
No.
he,
Right, absolutely. And it was, and I'm not criticizing the decision by any stretch of the imagination. I just found that it was just kind of comedic how, if any other decision like that had happened, it would be like, it would raise eyebrows, I think. But because this has to do with like a major pandemic of, global health implications, it was just kind of comedic.
Essentially what we're saying is Brother Paul was right. So it's
very much so.
Not intended as any form of criticism, just kind of funny. But yeah, and for anyone that's wondering, that all of that stuff is always run through the jurisprudence committee and everything. And a Grandmaster's decision only ever really happens if the jurisprudence committee says, well, hey, technically this hasn't been answered yet, or hey, we technically don't have anything defining the exact parameters of this. So it is legal, and it is a correctly performed decision.
Yeah.
Right.
So what can a lodge do right now? As far as business, anyways.
So, according to the notice from Most Worshipful Underwood, lodges can meet digitally and still handle the business of the lodge, as when it comes to paying the bills and making sure that I have we have a lodge to go back to when all this lifts. You can definitely have social gatherings through Zoom or Skype or some other kind of digital program.
Yeah.
There's been quite a bit of that actually going on, and we have our own Monday gatherings.
Yeah, and before we drill into that too much, I want to touch on business again, though, because you'd mentioned that they can conduct the business needed to stay a lodge. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about petitions? Are we talking about just strictly water bill, taxes, that kind of stuff?
No, none of the things that really require a ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can't do petitions or advancement or anything like that.
Yeah, and these meetings, or these digital meetings, aren't going to be in the minutes, right? They're not opening lodge or anything like that.
No. Yeah, I don't think you could ritually open and close a lodge in our jurisdiction. However, when it comes to maybe practicing some of the work, I would say, work with your district instructors or committee on work and get their advice about that.
Let me tell you,
you never know.
Yeah, now I have worked with the legend, who has since passed away, but has taught everybody in this state their work pretty much. And I've worked with him on the phone. So if people tell you that that's illegal, you're not going to work on the phone with that guy. But just give somebody else a shout. Yeah. And it's not like it's got to be something that you're shouting from the treetops, but it's not illegal.
Right.
If your phone's
Yeah.
being tapped, you're in trouble for something else anyways.
Yeah.
Oh
But
crap!
man,
Time to shut down the gin.
yeah. But I wanted to
Right.
I wanted to drill down a little bit on the business of the lodge because, a lot of guys, might overlook the fact that there are bills that need to be paid, or might think that that's something they can't do without the vote of the lodge. Well, you better do it, or else you're not going to be meeting back at the lodge. If you don't pay bills, you don't want things shut off and then there being issues there. So,
Right.
you know,
Well, and you brought up taxes too, and so here's an interesting distinction, right? So the federal government has pushback, uh, but Brand Lodge still has their own calendar. So until you hear otherwise, you kind of need to stick with that calendar.
yeah, nope. Put your if you've got forms or stuff due, make sure that gets taken care of.
Yeah.
So you touched on the social meeting socially. That's what the next question was, how are we keeping our members engaged?
Yeah, there's free options out there, and you can either free options to either do telephone or video conference or both, right?
Mhm.
We meet every Monday on Uber conference, and the great thing about that is you can do that both. You can either connect using a computer, and you can video chat with each other. Someone can dial in if that's the only way they have to connect and still be a part of the conversation. So there's,
Yeah.
something for everybody. Some of the brothers, when they dial in, it's because they're on the road. They're part of, sometimes they're delivery drivers or something like that. And because we're not talking about anything that needs a tiled environment,
Yeah.
uh, you know, they can pop in and out as needed, and they don't have to worry about who's around and listening. And one thing that's been said, everyone we've done so far is people always talk about how good it is to see and hear each other. That it keeps their spirits and morale up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think we've done what, 3 so far? 2 Monday night hangouts and 1 Thursday morning coffee hour.
Yeah, we had a coffee clutch not that long ago.
Yeah, that was real fun. Because different people's schedules are different, and it's cool because you get like a little bit of an overlap with both guys. Although I had to tell them, y'all, I got up early for y'all because now that I don't have a commute, I sleep in until literally right before I need to quote go to work, right? And so, I wake up at like 7:45, I make coffee, and then by 8 a.m. I'm logged into my work computer. And so I was like, guys, this 7 a.m. coffee hour is great, but I definitely I woke up real early for this. I would say, normally I wake up much earlier than that.
No.
So,
No, I think those are great ways to get creative. Get your email chains going, whatever it may be. Just stay interactive and keep that habit going, because there's, you fall out of the habit of going to lodge. That can be tough getting going again, especially if you put in new routines.
And there is a ton of Masonic education that's happening digitally that you can connect into.
No, that was my last question I had about the lodge was, what about education? And I think if you're on social media, you've already answered that question, because I know there's been a lot of people who have taken advantage of having the captive audience and put out some great material. I know Brother Chuck Dunning's done a lot. Paul Rana did a few things. It's going on all over.
Yeah, and actually, there's a group that we're involved with. The Refracted Light Facebook page has a ton of material on there.
Yep.
And I actually even got the opportunity to, I printed out a paper that one of the guys from the Refracted Light group wrote, and I printed it out, I highlighted a bunch of stuff, took notes and everything like that, and the next day I reached out to him. I said, hey man, I read your paper, it's fantastic, I really liked points X, Y, and Z, just killer job. And it was cool to get more time to read this kind of stuff and then actually be able to reach out to the author of the material, which that's one of the great joys of sharing education through social media is you can talk to the guy who wrote the thing and you can learn more if you have questions. And it's just
No,
fantastic. It's cool, you know?
no. No, this is one of those things I hope we hold on to, because we should have been doing this a long time ago. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been at our fingertips, and now we see you put education out online, it's going to get consumed. Maybe not at the rate it is today, but this is extenuating circumstances, but it's still going to get consumed.
I was having this conversation with Billy not too long ago, and I was working on my car, and I had him on speakerphone while I was working, and I said, "Hey, one of the things that we're realizing here is all the stuff that Masons have been clamoring for, more serious interpretation of symbolism, online education, more value on education, more widespread education."
Mm-hmm.
More adoption of contemplative practices for individuals. And, the list goes on and on and on and on. And all of this stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, we are seeing the Masonic Renaissance happening right now. It's just that the Masonic Renaissance, the 21st century Masonic Renaissance, ended up looking very different from what any of us thought it would ever look like.
No. Coming out of a quarantine. But it's out there, and they're putting out enough content to last us quite a while, even afterwards. But it's something that I don't see going away. We've let a genie out of the bottle here, that's for sure. I know Robert Marshall and Alex Powers didn't they start doing online presentations, kind of like the meetup, they'd have a speaker and you log in online. Didn't they do that before all this broke out? Somebody did.
Lodges that have done that.
Yeah, and I know like Robert Marshall has actually dialed into some lodges have had him virtually give a presentation.
Yeah. See, that's the kind of stuff we got to start taking advantage of. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing like being there in person, but utilizing these tools to get a speaker into your lodge or to your brothers that wouldn't normally have been able to. I mean, this is live and learn. This is the way it should be. So
it's fantastic to see brothers taking advantage of the tools we have on hand during this time, that when we're supposed to isolate that, we're not socially isolated.
Yeah, that's the truth. It would be a bummer if this were the 80s. That's the cool thing about social media right now is we are still connected even though we're locked in our houses.
Could you imagine watching a presentation on dial-up?
It'd be the worst. I just think I'd be playing Zelda or something instead of GTA. It's greatness. So I've got one last question that's kind of speculative before we close. Do you guys have anything else you want to touch on before we do go to this last question? No. Not that we're going to wrap up immediately afterwards, but it's totally changing the subject. I wanted to get your take on how long do you think this is going to last, and also how long do you think after this is all over, how long do you think it will take for us to go back to normal?
So I guess if I start, I've been keeping a track on the modeling that the University of Washington has been doing, and it looks like this is probably going to be with us, according to the models we have today, until the end of June. I have a feeling by the end of June, people are probably going to be stir crazy. So I wouldn't be surprised if we bounce back fairly quickly. My hope, though, is that people realize kind of what they were missing out by not being able to participate. And I would love for us to come back and have even more participation from the brothers we already have than we did prior to this.
I love your glass half full outlook. Bouncing back, baby. A little bit past Easter, but still very optimistic. I love it. Evie, what about you?
I think that right now there are just, I mean, pragmatically, there are just so many things up in the air that it's kind of hard to kind of determine when it's going to end.
Yeah, and we're no experts, so please, nobody take our predictions seriously. We're just speculating.
Right.
Here.
I definitely do not have a crystal ball
Yeah.
sitting in front of me. But I do think that there are a lot of, mitigating factors that make this situation the way it is. The lack of treatment options, the severity of it, rapid onset, its ability to be transmitted. So,
Mhm.
and all of those things point to longer rather than shorter periods of time. If one of those things were to change, suddenly, some of the drugs that we are hearing about in the news suddenly become
Mhm.
provably effective, then I think that would definitely change the calculus about how long that things are going to last.
Yeah.
Um, and the other part of your question was what do we do afterwards, or what's going to change afterwards?
No.
Remind me.
How long till we get back to normal, to where it's like, oh yeah, remember that, and it's not like, oh crap, is it going to reemerge?
I'm not sure. It's kind of like, I think it's kind of, and I don't mean this in the same way, but I mean psychologically, I would say that it's very similar to kind of what happened after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
You never really go back to being normal. There is no normal after something like this happens. You go back to it's no longer front of mind.
Yeah.
But the way that our society has changed already is, I don't see us ever going back completely to the way it was before this. This is going to change the way that we look at illnesses. This is the way we're going to look at the way we travel. This is the way we're going to look at, positively and negatively.
No.
So I'm not sure that there's ever going to be a normal again. There's going to be what everybody says, the buzzword, the new normal. And I
No.
really don't know what that new normal is going to look like, because it's going to depend on how long this goes on. And the longer it goes on, the more hardwired people are going to be into a new mindset about this. The shorter the period of time, the more easy it's going to be back to slip back into old habits. But, we're going on like in my life, it's like day 17.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes 21 days to form a habit. So
we're about there.
when you start getting into that 21-day period, people are going to have habits in their lives that they didn't have before this happened. It's going to be interesting, positively and negatively.
There's no doubt. I like your comparison to 9/11, because you think about how long did it take before people were like not looking over their shoulders to fly again. And that took a long time. That was 2 or 3 years before the dust really settled for the airline industry. I really feel like there's going to be long reverberating effects on gathering in large crowds, unless there's some kind of medical breakthrough. If there's a vaccine,
we don't have TSA, frisking us down to get into the grocery store.
Yeah.
Right.
And personally, I think this is going to last another 2 to 4 months. At a minimum, another 2 months, right? Like, that's just kind of a given. 4 months maybe, right? And we're going to see the peak. Most models say in May, I think, is the peak, and then but there's still a glut of it to go. And my personal hope is that we never return to normal. Obviously there's problems with social distancing and everything like that, and life under quarantine is not ideal. That's not what I'm saying. But there are things that we have done, adopted, maintained as normal as a society, that shouldn't be normal, that were never normal, and that we've just told ourselves are normal. So my hope is that that we don't go back to normal, and we learn something from this. And if we do go back to normal after this, then we've learned nothing.
Yeah.
which is a little bit of a cynical take on it. But yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Hopefully the next time this happens, there's not a big wash your hands campaign because we're all already washing our hands. Like, isn't that something we learned as little kiddos? And I get it. I know there's folks out there that don't wash their hands. But I don't understand why. I mean, there's soap and water everywhere you go. But that was
you'd
like
be
the big.
surprised, man.
No, I know. I don't live with my eyes shut. I know they're out there, but it is like crazy that it's the biggest thing of this whole pandemic was wash your hands and don't touch your face. It's like wash your hand. Come on, y'all. But
Well,
I've thought a lot about the fact that, okay, so let's say this thing does ease off in 2 months, that it's like nobody's catching it anymore, but there is no vaccine for it. And they're like, okay, everything's good. Go back to work. I mean, people aren't just going to flip a switch off and be like, okay, come on over here and hug me, whoever you are. There's going to be some long psychological effects of, do I want you around me? Do I want to go out to eat? You know what I'm saying? It's going to take a while before things get to the new normal. Because I think y'all are all right. We're never going to go back to what we were. That's not how life works. But there will be a new normal to where we go out and eat again and we, gather in large crowds again. But I don't think that's going to be super soon.
Oh
after
yeah,
this is
no,
over.
and that's not what I mean by not going back to normal. That's
Yeah.
part of the healthy things that are associated with what we call normal.
Yeah.
But no, it'll take. So if it's going to take another, let's say we've been in this 2 months already, and it takes
More or
another
less.
2 to 4 months. If let's say this takes a total of 6 months, I think we're going to see another 6 months before things kind of approach, where your friends that hug again, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
shaking hands becomes kind of like shaking hands is going to be different, right? Like you're not going to shake hands just to say hello. Like shaking hands is going to be something you do with people you trust.
so there is an opportunity here, bringing back gloves to lodge, because that used to be like back in the original English masonry, continental masonry. That was part of when a person was initiated. They were presented with two pairs of gloves, one for them, one for their significant other, mother, wife, girlfriend, what have you. But they were presented with a pair of white men's gloves and white ladies' gloves. And the thought there was to show that they were engaged in something pure, right? That if they were up to no good, they wouldn't be able to come back with pure white gloves, right? There'd be some kind of, dirt or something to symbolize that their intentions were not pure. Well, maybe it's time to bring gloves back in the lodge.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I now appear before you clothed in blue plastic gloves.
Yeah,
Wearing my N95 mask.
right.
Right. Or I mean, I could absolutely see it where a lodge has a drawer of gloves laid out just like we do our aprons.
Yeah.
I could absolutely see something like that where maybe a steward or a secretary or a junior warden or a master of ceremonies or whatever is tasked with taking the gloves home after a meeting and washing them and making sure that they're ready
Dumping
for the
bleach
next
in 'em.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, dumping bleach and decontaminating them and
Well, and it
But-
is cute and all, but especially as lodges, we have a huge responsibility for that, being that a good majority of our members are in that category of high risk. So when we do come
Yeah.
back, we better make sure everything's sterilized and ready to rock, Even though they've been on lockdown, it's still not going to hurt to go give everything a squirt of bleach before you bring the old cats back in.
Well, and I don't know
Right.
if you noticed this, but at the last stated meeting, actually, I did wear gloves.
I'm going to have to go get me a good pair.
yet another thing to go start hoarding besides toilet paper.
Yeah, it's some Masonic gloves. It's so funny. I told my wife, I said, anything's toilet paper if you're tough enough.
Hand me
Well,
that 2x4.
right. I was talking with my mom about it the other day, and of all the things that I would have put on my stock up on list to make sure that it's, I have ample amounts of it, like fill up my buggy full of it kind of items,
Yeah,
that toilet paper wouldn't have made my top 10 list.
it's
I
so funny.
mean, making sure that I have enough in the house, to make sure that it's, I don't run out anytime soon, in an average way. I was like, okay. But like seeing people at Sam's and Costco with pallets of toilet paper, it kind of boggled my mind. I was just
It
looking
was
at them,
weird.
kind of going, "What is wrong with you people?"
I had
I
to
mean, this is
reread the.
this is a respiratory virus, not
Yeah,
a rectal virus.
but I've got a
Right.
buddy who
Well, in the
takes
state,
that. I was gonna say I got a buddy who takes that prepper stuff very serious, and there's a book he read about the psychology of prepping or hoarding when something hits, and he said, like one of the top three things is toilet paper is what people take, and there's a whole psychology behind that. Even though it's not a necessity, they, it's like some kind of security blanket type thing, knowing you've
right.
got it.
And I can absolutely understand, making sure, because that is definitely a convenience that you don't want to be without. I mean, you
Yeah.
never see that on The Walking Dead being something that they are debating about. Like, do we take the canned goods or do we take the toilet paper? I think that would be a bigger conversation in post-apocalyptia. But
Uh,
but we're not talking. We're talking about a world where nobody's making toilet paper anymore in The Walking Dead. We still have toilet paper manufacturers cranking out toilet paper 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
so
it
crazy.
was that weird thing that I didn't get it. And if any of our audience is one of those people that's hoarding, God bless you and go forward. I don't understand it, but
Yeah, yeah, to
I'm
each
glad
their
you're
own.
stocked up on toilet paper.
Yeah.
Well, and my wife actually works at uh, well, she works at a pharmacy slash store, and she's like, I don't get it. People would come in, and as soon as the toilet paper dropped, you'd be gone. But napkins, perfectly acceptable alternative, fully stocked.
I remember walking into Costco not that long ago, and I was looking for like just getting some toothpaste and some necessities. Nothing. I wasn't stocking up like crazy on anything. I was just just my average Costco run. And I was in the area where they sell like baby wipes and medical stuff.
Mhm.
And the baby wipes were cleaned out. Toilet paper, not a stitch of it in sight. I mean, people, I can imagine them like stealing it from the bathrooms in the public
Yeah.
bathrooms. But then I'm pushing my little cart around the medical area, and there's like the preparation H little flushable wipes, and I'm like, there's like like piles of them, and I'm like, do people not put it together that these flushable wipes that you're stocking up on are the exact same thing, except it's got preparation H written on it?
Right.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
so crazy. Now you can get Tylenol.
it's just comedic. Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
fever reducer, real easy. Something you might really need. You can get that all day. Toilet paper. I mean, heaven forbid you have to hop in the shower. We only made it
Right.
millennial without it. It's a modern convenience. It's so funny.
The biggest
Right.
bidet of them all.
This is going to be this, if anything is going to get Americans on board with the idea of having bidets as part of a standard bathroom, this will be the thing that puts it on the map.
Yeah, I know it. I've been Joe
You go to
Rogan.
Europe and like bidets are, it's part and parcel of every bathroom. Here in
I,
Yeah.
America, not so much.
I need one now.
So, with that being said, though, um, there are. It's just going to sound terrible, but there are some kind of benefits of the reduced travel has. They've actually shown that smog has been reduced. Like in California, LA has been
Hmm.
perfectly clear. Animals are starting to come out. I had a friend who lives just in the next town over, and she's like, I looked out my window and there's this big fat possum just staring at me.
Yep. Lots
Things
Well,
are-
wasn't there a thing floating around on social media about like dolphins coming closer to shore now because there's not ships in the harbors anymore?
Oh yeah,
So-
in Venice, there were
Yeah,
dolphins
yeah.
in the canals
So
of
that
Venice.
was a little bit of fake news. We kind of got slapped by that.
Damn
It
it.
was not in Venice. It was in Sardinia, which is like a couple hundred miles away. And
Okay. And on
so
the other
it's
side.
not like they're swimming in the canals, which is what some people were claiming, but
Right.
they are swimming closer to shore as I have it, right? I may be
Well, yeah,
mistaken on that.
that's what I understood is that they were
Yeah.
coming closer to shore than they have in recent years.
But
I saw
And
the
I also
picture.
saw-
in-
I also
in-
saw some fake news in San Antonio, some dolphins.
Yes, I saw
swimming
that
in
one.
in the river.
yeah.
Having
Now,
lived in San
there is a-
Antonio, I was kind of like, yeah, no, that's probably
Now there
not
is a
gonna happen.
reality though that there are fish returning to the canals in Venice. So you look at the canals in Venice, they are crystal clear because all of the sediment that normally gets stirred up is sitting at the bottom. So all of that silt is sitting still at the bottom. Lots and lots of fish in the canals in Venice, and there's even less garbage in it. So if any of y'all have been to Venice, y'all know that it does not smell good. It's smelling better.
Like watery Vegas.
No, it's more
You
like
mean-
watery New Orleans.
That's what I was gonna
Ah.
say. That place is stinky.
It's like a great combination of hot garbage and urine.
Mm.
Yeah, having lived in New Orleans, I will, oh God, Bourbon Street. Oh, that is hell on earth right there. That is an assault to the
God bless them, but
nostrils.
that whole city it smells something abominable, especially during the summer.
Mm.
But
Fits it well.
It's wild though what we're seeing change.
Yep. No, it's going to be interesting. Faux show. Well, boys, I've got a heist that's about to come online on GTA, so I got to wrap this up.
Heck yeah.
Which, by the way, if any of you guys want to find me, I'm Texas 6th Gen. That's the number 6, THGEN. Hit me up. We can do some heists together.
You said PlayStation?
Yeah, I'm PlayStation.
It had to dust off my PS4, and it's got a good, healthy clear dust.
Oh, first world problems right there, man.
Right. I am so gonna go plug in my Nintendo Classic Mini, and I'm going to knock out some levels of Super Mario Brothers.
There you go.
I am
There
going to
you
go. I'm going to go try and figure out whether or not I have to drive into my office to fix my remote computer.
You do that.
Yeah.
You do.
If anybody wants to, you can find me most nights on Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and I am Osiris H2O. So
That's some quality H2O.
that's right.
Alrighty, gentlemen. I don't have the contact info in front of me. Y'all know the usual. Hit us up. Just go to our website if you want to email us. Hit the contact page. It'll get to us. Anything else burning we need to discuss before we close this thing down, gentlemen?
Nah.
All right. Until next time, fellas, this is Rip Moore signing off.
This is Billy Hamilton signing off.
This is Gabe Yager signing off.
Debbie Kirkendall signing on.